All right, internets, welcome to another episode of StepOff Radio, the official podcast of StepOff Magazine. Today we got an amazing guest. We got the one and only D-Rel coming straight out of Harlem. And join with us today, we have some returning guests of the show. We got the one and only Navy Jones Locker and Acosta the Man.
Hi.
Yo, Rel, welcome to the show.
Appreciate
Navy,
it,
Acosta, welcome back.
Hey,
you
good
know?
to be back. Tell them where we're at, Rob, because usually we're in San Diego.
Yeah, so normally we are, broadcasting live, not live, but we broadcasting from the San Diego Justice Center. But today we are broadcasting in Los Angeles, California.
Yes, sir.
We're
at Pirate Studios.
Pirate Studios.
Sunset, Silver Lake.
There we
Let's
go.
go now,
You know what I'm saying? Making angels loyal to demons, God, Son, Devil's Night. You know the vibes.
A-piece on the way.
Yeah, well, thank you all for taking time in the studio. Obviously, we all know, that's like, there's some creation happening here, so taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah.
Perfect. This is our lunch break.
I'm
about to say, this is it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my pizza, so.
Yeah, Rel, so thank you for, taking the time to talk with us. For our listeners who may not be familiar with you and your music, let the world know who you are and what is exactly that you do.
My name is D-Rel. I'm a poet, rapper, actor, hip-hop artist. Just all around Renaissance, man, songwriter. Come from Harlem, New York, born and raised. The 90s was fun.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. It's just multifaceted. Just super multifaceted.
No doubt, man. I love how you led us into that. So speaking of the 90s, let's go into, your early years. Tell us a little about that. You're born in Harlem, New York. Did you grow up in an artistic household? Like, were you around like art? Was music being played? What was going on in your home at that time, artistically?
The funny thing is, I kind of grew up in an artistic household. Like growing up, single parent home, like my uncle was more of the artistic one. So it's like I grew up in Lehman Projects, but from time we would go to my grandmother's in Staten Island and Toad Hill. So that's like right around where Wu-Tang and a lot of them was from. So growing up in that household, like different age brackets. So my uncle was the drawer. He would draw. My aunt, she was like artistic. My mom was a writer. And my grandmother, she was just a hard worker, like super disciplined, super like militant. And for me, I was a ball player first. Like music didn't come till later. I was actually into dancing first. Like I was a dancer. That's how I got into music. Always wanted to be a dancer, but I was a ball player. Like ball was life for me. Like being in New York is either you got a wicked jump, you sing crack rock, or you got a wicked jump shot. It's one or the other, especially coming up the way we came up. And I was just very good at ball. But one of the biggest problems I ran into playing basketball, especially being a young New Yorker, is you hang around the street guys long enough, especially if you're nice, you get invested in, and that's like almost your welcome into the underworld, like right off the porch. So I started making money just to play basketball. So I kind of lost the discipline for the game, and it became more about just like, the additives that came with it, or the satire.
Yeah.
Let's talk about like your introduction to hip hop, because you mentioned that what introduced you to music was kind of like dancing, that you were playing ball, that was like your life before that. But what introduced you specifically to like hip hop, like and specifically when you were introduced to hip hop? What were you listening to? Like, what were you exposed to? What were your musical influences?
Ironically, the very first hip hop song that I can remember hearing was Mary J. Blige, Real Love. Like, that was the very first that I could remember because it was part of my grandmother's Saturday morning clean the house music.
Crazy, bro. I never knew that, bro. When we talking about Mary J. Blige,
yeah,
the 411.
Yep. So it's like that's the first actual like hip hop song that I can think of hearing. And right after that, of course, Wu-Tang, being on Staten Island, being in Toad Hill Projects, running around as a little kid, like you listening to Protect Your Neck, Triumph, you're listening to a lot of unreleased music. But the one that really just made sense to me was Black Girl Lost, Nas, off of It Was Written. And that one because he's telling the story of a young woman in the projects trying to figure it out, and she's just trying to get to it. She's trying to make something out of nothing, and it's like you're also trying to like dodge the traps and stay within arm's length of the beast, essentially, but then still trying to maintain your feminism and being a woman, but then you allowing these men to cloud and destroy you. So that kind of really was my first real dive into like storytelling and just the appreciation.
Right.
I mean, that's one hell of a track to begin with. That path down storytelling. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than Nas. I Gave You Power. Taking in Blood. Tracks like that. So like. How are you coming in contact with this music? Is it being in the neighborhood? Are friends putting you on this? Older, cousins,
So a lot of it was in the house. So again, like I said, my uncle at the time, I want to say I was about 5, 6. So my uncle at the time was in high school. My aunt was in junior high school, and it was me and my older cousin. We were the kids at the time. So my uncle, Wu-Tang, obviously. My aunt, she was more into like Brandy, Mary, I think. So this is 95, 96. So Adina Howard came out around that time. Monica. So and then my grandmother, you got the Isleys, the OJs, the Manhattans, Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes, Otis Redding, Diana Ross, the Supremes.
So you're getting the whole spectrum.
So yeah, like the entire spectrum. Then my father's side of the family, I would get soca, I would get because we're Dominican on that side. So we would get Stevie B. We get all of that on that side.
Oh, so you're getting all the freestyle music and everything there.
So
hell yeah, man. So that kind of leads us into this next question. So, your formative years in your childhood are in the mid 90s. And, I wanted to dive into a little bit about that. So you're growing up in Harlem at this time. Paint a picture of that time period, this mid 90s, early 2000s, growing up in this Giuliani Bloomberg era New York. There's a lot going on in the city at that time. What was it like growing up in your neighborhood? Like in what ways has Harlem and maybe New York as a whole, molded and shaped your sound as well as the content of your music?
So in the 90s, first of all, the 90s, summertime in the 90s, growing up in New York were the greatest. Because if you were old enough to enjoy it, that's when everybody had the one old Puerto Rican guy that would pop the fire hydrant for you. All you wanted was a 6-pack. That was our little water ride in the summertime. We would break a bucket, so we would cut the bottom out of the bucket and we would put it around the fire hydrant. So any cars that came past, we would just give them a shower like that. Water balloons. If you grew up in the 90s, free lunch was a thing in the summertime. So my grandmother worked for the public school system, God rest her soul, in the Bronx. So I spent a lot of time between Harlem, the Bronx, and Staten Island. So like that was my triangle right there. Okay. And my father, like that side of me is from the Bronx. So like it was beautiful. It was matter of fact, the music reflected the most of what that time was like, because like it was rough, but it was beautiful. It's almost like the roads in the concrete. Essentially, like you just got to be strong enough to deal with the concrete because there's beauty there. Some people just wanted to take advantage of it, like hip hop, for example. It was made to give us a voice. A lot of people just wanted the energy. Matter of fact, Joe Budden said it best. Everybody wants to use the energy of the 90s, but then don't want to take the authenticity that came with it. Yeah. So like it's easy to take the, nobody wants to keep it real no more. And that's really what the 90s was. Like it was okay to check somebody like jacking lyrics, that was a no-no. Style, that was a no-no. And you couldn't be fake. You had to live about what you spoke about. Yeah. So you couldn't just be outside saying that, oh, I'm slinging all this wild dope and you won't even have a quarter in your pocket. Like you're 12 years old, fresh was a movie. Unless you really out here and you have an OG, like cut it out. Like we all so fresh too.
Yeah. No, that's a fact.
You can't be faking the funk,
You
like,
can't.
Don't just talk about it. You got to be about it. You're gonna rap about it.
They get caught nowadays with the internet, man. That shit come out.
It's over. Like you seen what happened to 6ix9ine down in Florida?
Oh yeah,
He catches up with you eventually.
Eventually.
We ain't gonna give him no energy.
Yeah, I mean, keeping on that New York kind of vibe that we were talking about, like with the history of what's happened in the 90s and 2000s, but also what's going on right now. Most of the boroughs have experienced some level of like gentrification. People moving in. You kind of talking about commodifying the history and the culture, even. Like everyone wants to take advantage of it, but no one wants to live that authenticity, like you were talking about. And I just wanted to kind of ask you, like, what do you think, has changed in your neighborhood over the last 20 years, and like, how do you feel about those changes? What do you think about that?
I feel like it killed Harlem. Like, it just, like, it was a 20-year plan, because you really started to see it in 2000. Like, if you grew up in Harlem and you were watching what they were trying to do, matter of fact, just in New York City in general, like, if you were growing up, you watched them do away with tokens first. They gave us Metro cards, because they was like, look, we can't keep pushing like this inner city agenda for the entire city. Like, we want to be more like up, like a Los Angeles. Like, we want to have that feeling. We don't want people just come here and be afraid to go outside of 42nd Street.
Mm-hmm.
So you just watch them start really just ripping the soul out of communities. Like, started ripping like the history. Like, Harlem in itself should just be a museum. Like, if you could just encase what Harlem was, it should literally be a day-to-day museum. Like Lenox Lounge, that should have been enshrined. Cotton Club should have been enshrined. Like, all of these different venues that they've torn down, like, as if it meant nothing.
It's history.
Like, that's our history.
Part of the Renaissance.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like being a kid from Harlem. Like, I remember what it was like to hear stories about Marcus Garvey and how he walked up 8th Avenue, or he was being led up 8th Avenue. Like, I remember hearing about how Malcolm X used to stay like not too far from St. Nicholas Projects, and he was sleeping with all of the white women and robbing everybody, running around crazy before he actually became. So it's like there's a lot of history there.
Yeah.
And like, if you think about it, Harlem was really known for just liberating and going to get it. Like, the first letter in Harlem is H, hustle. You can't be from Harlem and not have a hustle. You might as well just say you from like Manhattan. You're not from Harlem. You're from Manhattan. And that's another thing too. Like, I wish people would stop saying it's not Harlem, it's Manhattan. No, it's a difference. Anything from 96th Street, 96th Street and down, that's Manhattan. When you're on the train, when you go from 96th Street, guess what the next stop is? 110th Street. There is nothing else in between. You leave in Manhattan and you can feel the energy. If you don't believe me, get on the highway, the West Side Highway. When you get to 103rd, it's going to say, welcome to Harlem. It does not say Manhattan. So there's a very big difference. And there's just a lot of people, oh, how y'all the only borough with two different names. No, we just split. We don't get into the identity of bougie, because that's essentially what Manhattan is. Park Avenue, Madison Avenue, all of the avenues of America.
Yeah, people forget, like, Harlem is still in the people down below. It's like Midtown. They wanna, I would say, not associate themselves with people from uptown. So you feel that energy. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. Yeah.
It's like they want to enjoy our festivities when it's time to, but then they don't want to deal with the people. Like, you can't enjoy the Puerto Rican Day Parade and not be around us.
Right. I hear people say that shit in all contexts. Whatever you are, like wherever you are,
whether state, city,
wherever it is, like there's always that, like, well, we enjoy the, like, especially the dominant society enjoys the culture, but they don't enjoy us, like our communities.
Like, how can you enjoy Juve but then not want to go be with a bunch of Jamaicans, Panamanians, Trinis, and Haitians? Like, how you not do that?
Yeah, bro, it's crazy. Like,
you can't do that.
The Labor Day Parade changed so fucking much. I remember being the kid in Brooklyn going to Labor Day Parade every year. Since I was like 11 years old, you know what I'm saying? And that was the only time, like as a young kid, you was able to stay up overnight, because Juve's overnight.
You look forward to that.
You know what I'm saying? You 11, you 12 years old, you sneak a beer too. Nobody know. You go, you know what I'm saying? You go to the Labor Day Parade, you covered in pink powder, got your flag on, whatever whatever it is. And they took that away from us. And
they tie that back into like gentrification, because every borough used to have, like, we call it Project Day. So like every project had a day or a week where they celebrated. Like for us in Harlem, it'd be Harlem Week. because there was so many different projects. Like you just knew, like August. So like June would be for Queens, July's for Brooklyn, the Bronx. August was for Harlem.
Nah, most of the project days are still in August.
It was?
On my side.
Oh, well, I mean, well, for the most part, I remember a lot of.
Don't speak on my side. Don't run up over here. You know
But yeah, for the most part, like we got like mid-August to the end of August. Like that's what we like. But they don't even have that no more. Like they reduced Harlem to a day. Like Harlem Week to a day.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. You can't celebrate Harlem inside of a day. You can't celebrate New York City inside
That's
of a day.
why I loved going to summer school, man. I mean, you know, I ain't stupid or nothing, but but like, you know, you go to summer school, man, because I was 1 year, we was like, man, you know, F gym. I ain't going to gym for what? You know, that's, you know, so we had to go to summer school for gym, but we had to go to different schools, so we ended up going to school uptown. I remember it was mad fun, man. And that's when I like
Hop
really
in the train.
You know what I'm saying? In the summertime, you know, like, you know, and you outside.
One of the most profound effects of gentrification is, and Jonez was talking about this when we spoke with him in his interview, it's not necessarily the landmarks or, you know, that go away. It's the people, and the people move that has the most profound effect. You know, what's the biggest contrast to Harlem now as opposed to when you're growing up as a kid?
The community. There's no community. Like growing up, you had the grandmother, the grandfather. You had the grandmother that was in the window. Everybody was her grandkids. You had the grandfather that was probably playing chess or drinking his beer, sitting at the park bench. Everybody was his grandson or granddaughter. You had the older guys, like the drug dealers, that was everybody's uncle, that would throw a couple dollars, keep you out of trouble. Like, there was a community. So, like, if your mom was looking for you and she couldn't find you, she could literally talk to the community. You'd be found in, like, inside of 2 minutes. Like, I could be...
no cell phones back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's like, me, I'm from 110th in Park. So, Central Park is literally 3 blocks away. My mother could be looking for me, and they'd be like... Oh, yeah, I seen them take off on their bikes. They went to Central Park. Why did he go to Central? I didn't tell him to go to Central Park. Literally, I'm sitting there, bike, boom. All I just feel is just the wind and the smack. Like, but I miss that because you don't have that type of love anymore. Everybody, we essentially minding our own business now because people just got to a space where they don't want you telling them anything about their kids.
Yeah.
And we all live in this community together. It's like your kids is my kids, and God forbid if the cops came, I want to be able to keep your kids safe just like I want you to keep mine safe. Like, I came from the era where if we ain't had no sugar, we lent a loaf of bread, they'll go get some sugar. I'm knocking on your door like, hey, excuse me, got some sugar, Miss So-and-so. Like, you probably come back, hey, sweetheart, ask your mother, she got some cold cuts. Like, that's what's missing right there, the community. We no longer have
you
that.
do something like that, get your broke ass out of here. It's like...
Yeah, like, everybody's just too cool
But you
for
want
school.
food stamps too? All right.
Yeah, like,
Alright.
bro, you waiting for the first... All right, cool, you right. Okay, I guess it's crab legs tonight, huh? All right, I know.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's the great irony of the digital age. I feel like we're more connected than ever, but in a lot of ways more disconnected at the same time.
Because we doing this. Everybody's doing this instead of doing this. Like,
it's a numbers game. You worried about how many numbers you got on whatever it is, and like you could have, you know, 1 million followers or whatever, and then you go outside with that 1 million follower energy, and nobody knows who you are. Check yourself at the door, or I will check you.
It's the
I don't play
reverse,
that.
and that's the sad part.
You know, it's billions of people in the world. I might be one of those, you know, you got 1 million followers, so the other millions of people that don't follow you, I'm probably one of them. I don't know who you are, and you mad that I don't know who you are. Do you know who I am?
Like, OG told me.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
OG told me once. It's no sense in having a phone if you can't make a phone call to change your position.
And that's crazy. Yeah,
like unless you can literally, if you find yourself in a jam and you can't make a phone call to change, why do you have a phone? Who are you talking to? Like, can they change your situation? Can they do anything for you? Like, why are you talking to people that can't do anything, or you can't, and vice versa? You in turn can't do nothing for them. And it's like he said, like, you got 1 million followers. Okay, you got 1 million followers. I might know the 1 million people in real life that's following you. So, yeah, they following you, that's cool, but do they know you? Are they attached? Are they invested in you? Like, in a minute, casual conversation is about to be a dinosaur, because nobody talks to anybody.
Because what happens when, you know, something crazy happen and say, you know, all the shit that's happening in the world right now, and something do happen and we lose all electricity. You back to being a nobody. You know what I mean? No one's gonna know who you are.
You got to go back outside.
The old rules are going to apply again.
Yeah,
People are going to learn
yeah.
just like they did
You're
in all
gonna have to
time.
go get you a real job.
Yeah, you know.
Apply some real skills, you know.
Yeah,
Like, you know that porch that you like looking at from Instagram? Now you're going to have to go jump off of it.
But that's the thing that you pointed out, right? Is that like they sucked the soul out of the community, right? And they took away people's like ownership over it. Because before, people would live in that neighborhood for like generations, you know. And now with gentrification and the cost of living having shot up, I think the story of most of our neighborhoods or our communities is that like it's one of like loss, people moving,
Well, it's
moving out of
the
it.
big thing too is right is what we didn't understand is the ownership part. So like the banks owned everything, and at that time it was whoever owned the building. It was more of a situation. I love these people. I love this community. When they die, their son or their daughter, whoever the ownership falls into, is like, I don't give about these people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Selling to the highest bidder.
You know what I'm saying? To the highest bidder, because I don't want to work. I've been rich my whole entire life, and now my parents deceased. I don't want to have to go get a real job. I don't know how to do anything other than be rich.
Yeah.
So I need to go sell this building, kill all these people's lives off, make them homeless, but I'm good. Me and my family going to be straight.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening today. Is now, it's rolling over and rolling over and rolling over. You know what I'm saying? And then when that person dies and they don't have nobody to give that building to, it just rolls over to the city. And what the city going to do? Run that.
Condominiums. Here we come.
Saying? They gonna make their profit. Hey, listen, these people that own this block, this is perfect for this new building we could put up. They paying $350 a month, but if we build this new building here, we could spike it up to at least $1,500. You know what I'm saying? Look at the location. It's right next to the L train. Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I remember when people would be afraid to talk about that L train. Now everybody wants to live near the L train.
And it's crazy. The neighborhood is changing when they take the bodega sign and they put grocery store.
Yeah, that
Boy.
man.
Yeah.
Why, man? Where's the cat?
Yep. Yeah, you beat me
You know
right
what I'm saying?
to it. Like, where the
the
cat on the
fuck?
bread, bro?
Where the manager at?
Yo, where's the
know what I'm
novellas at?
Yeah,
Where Poppy at?
Nah.
Like, for real, like, the mom and pop franchises, I think that's what I miss the most. Like, for me, example, my barber. I never forget it. My mom, started taking me to the barber young. I want to say 3. The guy who was cutting my hair, essentially, his son ended up starting to cut my hair. And they're still there. Super dope people, beautiful people. And the only reason why they're so strong there is because they ended up they own a lot of the block, and people don't know that. They own there's a corner store to the left of them, there's a check cashing to the right of them, and I was like, dag, man, I'm glad that y'all was able to keep. He's like, yeah, bro, but that was the story of Harlem, 'cause a lot of Harlem was owned by Black and Spanish people.
And that's how it was.
And it was either taken from them or recognized.
We don't be doing good business, right? So they say the deed
too.
and all this that, you know what I'm saying? And it's not passed on. And a lot of it, sometimes the building was bought on a handshake. Somebody did somebody a favor. Somebody saved somebody's life.
Nobody actually put it in paper.
Yeah, nobody put it in paper because it was that word. My word is bond. My word is bond. Nowadays,
That word, look, man,
everybody snitching left and right. Nobody cares.
ain't nothing to tell ain't nothing to tell if everybody telling.
Yeah, everybody off for self, bro. It's crazy, man.
Well, it always in this system too, right? It's it always comes down to who's got the most money and the most power, right? So it's even if we've got our own deals amongst ourselves and whatever, it's if somebody's gonna take you to the court, it's whoever's got the most hand with with that system. And it doesn't matter about right or wrong in that situation. That's what's messed up. Is you could have someone's whole elderly grandparents or whatever, and it'd be yo, they've lived in this building for whatever. But if the deed says that it belongs to some out of town landlord or whatever, that's more important than making sure these people who are stewards of the community, pillars and whatever, stay where they belong. You know
what I'm saying? They've been putting money into the community for over 50 years, and it means absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Because the city's gonna go, well, we're gonna get somebody else who's gonna pay more money, and they'll put more money in for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is, nowadays money can't even really get you in the door. What do your numbers look like? You can have all the money in the world. I don't care about your money. What do your numbers look like? What does your analytics look like? Everything is so stat driven right now that being authentic is no longer a thing.
Yeah, because you can pay for all those numbers.
You could do, like, what happened to just a firm handshake and looking the man in the eye? Like, what happened to the things we grew up on? Like, what happened to walking into the room and just being able, like, I'm from the New York where, like, and this is like a key to New Yorkers. Our fear is walking into a room and never having anything to offer that room. Like, that's literally a New Yorker's fear, which is why when people come to New York, they be like, "Dang, how do you seem to know so much?" Because I don't ever want to be in a position to where I have nothing to offer the conversation. I never want to be in that position because it's almost like an insecurity of, "Dang, I need to catch up. I don't know this. How do I not know this?" But in the process of learning all of these things, you end up becoming a jack of all trades. So now I went from talking to my homeboys on the block to now I'm sitting in these boardrooms with people I ain't got no business being in, but because I know enough to get around, now I've talked myself into some good business. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, and people look at me like I be crazy. Like, wait, is that really? No, that's a real thing. Like, New Yorkers, we are afraid of walking into a room that we can offer nothing to. Like, that's literally all we are. And people think
the
that
old
we're
New York. I don't know about the new.
Or the new, yeah. I can't speak for the new,
You
but
know,
no.
if I walk into the room like, yo, I got X amount of followers.
This, that, and the third, and
Bro,
suck my dick, this, that. Like, all right, okay, all right, I guess. Like, I feel you, but
you know what I'm saying?
it don't work that way. Like, it's crazy.
It's still the old heads that's still conducting business at the top.
Yep.
So you gotta
Still gotta have principles and morals.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that's lost too in the community.
You can't put a price tag on charisma. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing the right people, being able to have a conversation face to face and sell like a vision. You know, not only just like some bullshit analytics that you said. Like anybody can pay for that, but like you said, you can't fake the funk. Like if you're sitting there looking eye to eye with somebody, it's really hard to do that.
You know when it's real when you meet that person in real life and they're like mad awkward and weird and it's like, so you never really been outside, huh?
Like you, and that'd be the first thing. Like you really just be looking at them like, oh, you've never left your room. You know, wow.
Especially in the music industry, you got a lot of these cats now too. Like that are coming up and like
energy be weird. Like you be in the studio,
bedroom MCs, bedroom producers.
Yeah, I mean, don't get it twisted. I mean, I still record at the crib too. I made some of my best work in hotel rooms and on the road and here, at Pirate and different stuff like that. But
it's just the energy be weird. Like you got 1,000,001 tattoos, but like you don't know what a woman looks like outside of her clothes. Like it's just weird to me. Like how you end up with all these tattoos. Who have you shot? What work have you put in? Like what have you done? Like don't let Wayne have y'all think, and that's no disrespect to Wayne because I'm a fan.
He already said it on the joint.
Yeah,
he the blueprint. You
he the
feel me?
apex.
Ain't be the apex, boy. I've been waiting for to say that for years.
Wayne, like no, you gotta understand. Wayne was around thorough people. You gotta think like the tree that he's coming from. That's a thorough cloth.
So everybody want to be like Wayne, but don't want to be like Wayne.
Yeah, like
you know what I'm saying. It's
everybody want to be the man till the man walks in the room.
Yeah, and then when Wayne walking in, they're like, yo.
So he's really him, like.
Yeah, and then you be mad when when he don't fuck with you, like he smell like you ain't really.
Dog. Like I'm a wolf. I don't want to be around sheep. I wear shearlings, yes, but I don't want to. No, that's nothing for me. I run a bunch of wolves, like.
Yo, man. Yeah, thank you for dropping that game on us, man. Appreciate dropping those gems. But kind of going along that same line of music, I kind of wanted to go. You were talking earlier about how you have this myriad of different influences from your family, listen to all this different music. With all the artists that we talk to, there comes a point where artists, they go from this stationary observer position to where they want to become participants. They want to create their own art. They want to put something out in the world. And I wanted to ask you, everyone has their aha moment. What was your aha moment when you knew, oh, this is something I need to be a part of. I need to create something in this art form.
It's like it was like a 4-year period. So I was 16. I had just found out I could no longer play basketball, and that was my identity up until that time. So that crushed my world. So not having nobody to walk me through that, and try to help me process that, and then show me a different way, and having to go through that by myself, essentially almost killed me. I started doing a lot of dumb stuff outside of that, and one thing led to another. I grew up, by this time I'm living in Philadelphia. So this is like golden era Philly. So this is like 2000, this is 2002, 2003 to about 06, 07. I started doing a lot of dumb stuff outside of that, and one thing led to another. I grew up, by this time I'm living in Philadelphia. So this is like golden era Philly. So this is like 2000, this is 2002, 2003 to about 06, 07. So you're talking about underground Philly. So this is like Young Meek Mills, Reed Dollars. The State probably just hit the scene. Like if you was living in Philly, or you're from, shout out to Philly too. If you're from Philly around that time, they didn't care about like the Jay-Z's, the Nas. No. Who underground right now is high? It was either Top Shot or Head Class. I mean, Headshot or Top Class. Those are the only two entities we cared about. Headshot, Top Class. You either ran with Joey Jahead or Reed Dollars. That was it. And for me, that was the dopest thing in the world, because coming from New York in the underground, like, because like Nas, the underground, like he's like the bridge. Wu-Tang, same thing, the bridge, like between the streets and mainstream. But to see a city where the whole scene is underground, and this is all we really care about, like, don't get me wrong, they love their hoes and everybody else, but when you're more worried about the people coming from your city and that's who you want to see win, it gave me a different feeling, like, because you're talking about, like, if you remember those old DVDs, like the come up DVDs, and like you would see a whole bunch of dudes, but there'd be one person rapping. But you see all his homies, they know every word for word. That type of energy right there was super dope. And I'm like, that's uniform. And it ain't because like, oh, they had to do it. No, that's my man's. Like, I might be selling this dope right now, but oh, you got this. All right, well, hold on. Let me finish my business dealings. I'm gonna come hold you down. Like, brotherly love, like it meant something. So for me, when I saw that, I got swept up in it, and it wasn't until about 18, 19 till I really was just like, you know what, I really want to take music seriously, because at that point I was really just learning how to put the words together, like learning how I want to say something, because I started writing poetry like around 9. I really started understanding what I was writing like around 12, but actually putting it together, like concepts, metaphor assemblies, like that really didn't start really coming together until like around like 16, 17, like that era. So it's like when you have like me being a Harlem cat, Mace, Big L, like those was my influences. So when you hear it in Philadelphia, it sounds different. Like Joey would be Mace, Reed would be Big L. Or if you wanted to go, like, Joey would be like, let me see, Joey would be, he would be Bad Boy. Reed would be Rockefeller, Rough Rider, because they represented the street more. Joey was like, nah, I'm going to get money. Like, I'm like, no, like, I'm just pretty. Like Stack Bundles, same exact thing, Gorgeous Gangster. And it just was dope to watch the two, like, and they all knew each other. Man. R.I.P. to Stack, like, word. But yeah, for me it was 18, 19. Okay. Like that's when it really started to make sense for me.
So this is around like 07, 08?
This is like 07, 08. I lost my older brother, and it was around that time because I started drinking like real bad.
Yeah, 07.
Yep, 07, August 2nd. Like real, I never forget it.
Well, let's talk about the origins of your name. You know, D-Rel. Tell us a little bit how you chose that as your stage name, and like what's the story behind that?
So, inside joke. I hated my name. A lot of it came from me despising my dad. Like we wasn't always on the best of terms. So my name is Daryl. Hated my name. My little sister's name is Darrell. So when I was in high school, I tell everybody my name was my sister's name. I hate him. Like so when people would call the crib. I'm like, hey, how you doing, Miss So-and-so? Like, I speak to Darrell. Darrell? You mean Daryl? Like, nah, Darrell. And, yeah, nah, for real. I was out here tripping. But my name derives from, like, my little sister, like, that was my everything. That was, like, my best friend. We did everything together. And she, if there was anybody I can keep it real with, it's her. Because she's seen me do a lot. She's watched me go through a lot. So my name essentially comes from just her as an inspiration. So I just dropped the A, the R, and just kept D-Rel.
Awesome.
That's dope. Thank you for sharing that, man. You know, we always love to hear people's origins and their staging name. You know, there's always something that's very unique and personal, man. We love to hear
Unless
it.
it's their regular name.
Yeah.
Well, it's my real name.
I mean, it is my real, but I hated my name. That's the thing. Like, it's crazy. It took me a while to come around, but.
No, I feel you. I mean, me and my family, I'm like the 7th generation of Jose. It's not even a choice. It's like every Jose, there's always just some big Jose.
Bullshit is
My nigga Punch.
Yep.
My nigga Punch, him and all his brothers and his father, they all got the same name. His father got like 4 sons. They all got the same name. 1, 2, 3, 4. All his kids.
That's like my grandfather, all his siblings, all Ramon. They're all there's like 5 of them. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
My
it's like
family's
one of y'all going.
Yeah, somebody
leave a
gonna make it,
legacy.
goddamn
One of y'all gonna make it.
Like, my family has 3 sets of Darryls. Like, father, son, father, son, father, son.
Small Pete, little Pete, repeat.
That's a good one.
That's a crew right there.
Oh my
There
god.
you go.
Yeah, man. So, like, the next question, you kind of got a 2-parter here. So, I wanted to ask you, so, you know, you're making music, you know, you're out here in New York. How did you and Jonez end up linking up? And then also, how did you find your way all the way out here to California on the West Coast?
Man. So the irony, I knew his dad when I was a kid. Just being outside, being off the porch. But I didn't know that was his dad until like years later. So I actually
So we
knew.
actually
Yeah.
clicked up because we met at that video shoot.
So we ran across each other at a video shoot opportunity.
That brings us like a perfect point. You brought up the Chicken Spot series and like that EP you worked on with Jonez, you know, 6-piece. Let's like talk about that a little bit. It obviously has a very, you know, dark boom bap sound. Sorry, Rob, I jumped the question.
But that's the 6-piece is the 4th one that we did.
Right.
It's 2-piece.
Right.
There's like 4.
2-piece in the biscuit, value meal, and
Right.
then 6-piece.
6-piece.
You were telling me about this other show.
6-piece is the 4th installment.
Right.
So you know it's
But,
it's 4 parts of the Chicken Spot series already.
Right. Bring us home on this one, Rob. My bad. I didn't. I got so excited. I heard the key word.
You want to know what brand of chicken we using with the season?
I want to know if we use
Dog meat, white meat.
But
Is auntie in the kitchen?
did somebody bring out the brown paper bag like they used to? Or?
Yeah, no,
Just about the journey in general, you know, behind that joint, you know.
Yeah.
Oh man.
well, the first one was produced by my guy S. Out in Copenhagen. That's the 2-piece. Because we originally it was on Acosta's beats, but we couldn't clear the sample.
Yeah, that was a whole thing.
So the issue was we couldn't clear the sample. So because we couldn't clear the sample, we went ahead and went with S's beats that we just kind of use the same lyrics on those 2 beats. So then that's when you get 2-piece in the biscuit, and that's when Acosta comes into the fold. But really, he was there since the beginning. It's just we couldn't clear the samples on the initial
The original.
The original
Because my ass
Chicken
thought
Spot.
like, oh, I got this really rare like soul sample that like you couldn't even Shazam it. And then we tried clearing it, and they're like, "No, you can't do that. Like, you owe us too much." And blah blah blah. And it's like, "Oh shit!" Like I thought, like I found this record in this record store in San Francisco, and it was just this random 45 that I found, and I was like, "Fuck it! Like this sounds good. Like I can chop this up." I Googled it. I tried looking it up. I Shazammed it. Couldn't find it anywhere, and I was like, "Oh fuck! Perfect. We don't have to worry about clearance." It's like,
It was
That's
like,
how it
you
goes
thought?
sometimes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But to answer, I think your original question, how did the Chicken Spot come about? Up until that moment, like I said, we
It was
both.
COVID.
Well, that and we was like, we both was making music, and we didn't like the direction of music at the time,
Yeah.
and like we didn't like how
So
New
much was
York
going
sounded.
on, everything that was happening.
And I was like, yo, I want to make music that gives us that old feeling back. Like, I want to feel like what it felt like when a chicken box was $5. Like when you can go get you a 2-piece and a biscuit, go get you a bean pie like with it, soda. Like I want that feeling back. I want the Chinese store bulletproof glass window feeling back. Like I want that. And so like he agreed. So I'm like, what's more authentic New York than a Chicken Spot? And that's how it came about.
Yeah.
And
I was like, oh shit, let's call it 2-piece then. Fuck
Yep,
it. He was
and
like, oh
yeah.
shit, word. It was
then
like
we
2-piece.
I lie to you not. From there, we just literally started going down the line. Like, all right, you got the 2-piece and the biscuit. All right, so what we gonna call a 4-piece? Oh, that's the value meal. And like the 6-piece, it's like, oh, boom, the 6-piece. And we still got room because you got the bucket. So it's like you got room to play with, like, the idea. So the overall idea just came from wanting to hear that genuine New York sound again. Because we was missing it. And New York, like, for a while, just did not sound like New York.
Yeah.
Until Griselda hit. Then it was just like, but we can't claim it because that's Buffalo. So in New York, because we just always love to attack. We love to attach ourselves to anything New York. Nah, that's us. We stamping it. We put the flag. But one thing I can say in the journey I respect, I completely respect the locks. Because I completely understand why groups break up now. Because of creative differences.
Word.
Because
we went through it, man. I mean, arguing.
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even like about like who's better. It was like, yo, my mans, I'm not, because if you hear the creative differences on the projects, and that's when it was like the 2-piece was his direction. The 2-piece and the biscuit was more my direction. And as you know, I do hype shit too. Like I got my boom bap sound, and then I do my hype shit too. You know what I'm saying? So I do a little bit of drill shit. So it's like everything is, I encompass the whole New York sound. You know what I'm saying? But everything, where he's like, nah, I already know who I am. I'm like, yeah, this is me too. Cause you know, like I'm chill, but I also like to wild out. While he's just like, I'm chill till you make me wild out. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's literally what it is.
And that's all it is. So when we had that the person, whoever is running the project, we agreed to, okay, you got this one, I got the next one, then you get the next one. So you hear the difference. You hear a person that has anger management issues on 2-piece and a biscuit, and then on the value meal you hear that soul, and damn, he telling his story, he really making us feel it. But so am I, right? He channels that energy, you know what I'm saying? And I just feed off of it. On 2-piece and a biscuit, he feeds off my energy. You're like, yo, Rel is outside. What the hell?
You're like, wait, he on a rap rock joint?
You know what I'm saying? No. And then with the 6-piece, what we did with the 6-piece, it was split down the middle. So the 6-piece is really, it's us.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit. The 6-piece is, it's more like he was Michael Jordan, I was Scotty, because he was in a pocket. Like, no, seriously.
Well, I ain't do nothing without your permission, bro. I ain't do
no, that's songs. True, but here's the thing. Like, the reason why I said that is because, like, if you hit a 4-piece, it's literally all my energy. Because if you go and listen to the songs, even the hooks, I pretty much did everything.
Yeah, like literally, project. He wrote the hooks. All I did was rap it. Yeah, but it was, you know what I'm saying? It was, you know what I'm saying?
And the 6-piece, nah, he hit the ground. Like, you couldn't tell him nothing. He was skip to my Lou and N1 in his heyday. Like, he literally had the ball on the string. Like, nope, I'm doing the hook for this. Matter of fact, yo, bro, since you doing that, let me do the hook for that. Like, he was just all. I was like, oh damn, all I gotta do is my 16s, and that's cool. Have at it.
I really wanted to put it out because he was going through, you know, a lot of stuff, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying, and working on his joint, and then, you know, the energy of the 6-piece really, what made me fuel that energy was because I found out they was working on a solo project.
Yep.
And I was like, so you working on a 6-piece without our 6-piece? That's cool. So I'm working on my own 6-piece too.
And I'm gonna put my shit out before you.
And then that was just my energy. But it's just this is my brother, you know what I'm saying?
So it's competitive.
Don't get it twisted.
Friendly competition, you know?
Right? Before I put out my 6-piece, before we put out Angels Loyal to Demons, right?
Oh, no. Our 6-piece is going out.
Yeah. We was done with ours first. We got ours done. And then, you know what I'm saying? Yo, bro, how I set this up? Because, you know, we always executive produce each other's projects, right? The Navy Jones Locker album. People don't understand. Like, I sat there for days and days and days until he finally had time to pull up and was like, all right, bro, let's put this album together. He put that album together track by track. You know what I'm saying?
Just like breaking down like everything. Like, it was one of those like, oh, okay, this is, all right, this right here is where the bridge, this is where the album starts to split off. Now you get into your international bag. Like, this is where you, and I feel that is it's a very
You're your biggest
underappreciated.
critique sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
it's
with
hard.
me, I'd be like, bro, like, nah, I'm just gonna redo this track over. Nah, bro. You
Leave that
good?
right with he is no
And I do the same thing to him. I was just doing this. I was literally just doing this not even an hour ago. Hey, bro, you got to record this one little part. Nah, bro, you got to understand what I was trying to say. I know what you're trying to say. But the way you said it right now to me, because you argue with me, that's how you need to say it in the movie.
Yeah, like it's one of those where I was like, all right, cool. And he hates when I like we're both notorious for killing babies. Like we'll have a whole song done and then scrap it and then look at each other. Like, yo, what are you, my man? What's up with you? You alright? You cool? Like,
Nah,
I like that. You could have kept
boy.
like, nah, that wasn't
It
it.
gotta go.
That was trash, and it probably could have been hard. But then you'll hear it pop back up later, like 15 songs later, like, damn, I still had this in the tuck. Like, yeah, you remember that one song we did, like, in the beginning that you didn't like? Yeah, it was a thing.
I love the constructive critique and the friendly competition. And, I actually kind of wanted to ask you guys, you both got an ongoing series called Street Politics on here. And I wanted to ask you, what was the inspiration behind the series? How did you guys decide how you want this to be like an ongoing series of tracks that spans across different projects?
It just came because we did Street Politics, the very first Street Politics. And then there's just a subject matter. Right? It's the subject matter of each one. At the time, we talk about kind of what needs to be said that's not being said on the streets right now. And that's what Street Politics is about. If you listen to the very first one, we came back, I think, about 2020, right? What was going on around that time, right? Yeah. So you go, okay, yeah, this is the Street Politics of 2020 versus 2022 when you get, 2021 we put out?
2021 was the second one. And 22 was the...
Was it 2022?
I think it was like 2021, 2022. It was one of those.
When did we put out the 6-piece?
All right, so the six piece
was like 2019, 2020.
No.
Oh, no, my bad, it was 22. It was 21.
Because Street Politics 2 is on.
Yeah.
So
it's on 21.
You gotta do some timelines. I'm like,
So, right? So you see that break, right? We put out 3 projects back to back.
And then
it was almost a whole entire year before the 6-piece came out. Creative differences.
Yeah, like
we were with each other all the time, but we just didn't talk about music.
Yeah.
Like we took a break from music of each other's lives and let each other do their own thing, but we were with each other all the time.
Just never spoke music.
We just didn't speak music. We had to become real friends again.
Yeah, because it got bad, man.
Yeah, but so the Street Politics 2, what was going on at the time, the whole, your chain ain't safe
on the boulevard.
You gotta think about everything was happening.
Like and I think go for it.
And then Street Politics 3, we did Angels Loyal to Demons, right? So it's like, what am I notorious for with D-Rel? Because if you think I'm gonna put out a project and I have him on it, you crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, no matter where I'm at.
And that just became a constant
For
staple.
anybody that's out there trying to do any deals or anything, it's 2 for 1.
Yeah, you can't, like, you're not going to get one without the other. Like,
but
and
then we got the dipping sauce.
Yeah, there you go. So, you feel me? Like, you want to know where that ghost pepper sauce coming from?
Yeah.
Right there in the corner.
So that, Street Politics 3, it was about that energy. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm going to bring Rel into this, and that's when I brought Rhodey into it. 'Cause that's my guy, from Long Beach, and it was just like, adding all those factors, you know what I'm saying? Like how we gonna connect this, And we was all in the studio at the time, right here, Studio 1, right next door.
God damn, we really was though.
Yeah, I'm saying we was right here, and we made it work, bro. We was all in the studio. He had the beat. Acosta put the beat on, and we was just channeling the energy. And he was like, I got something.
Yeah,
and he
I
took
went
it
far. And it's weird because to this point, he knows me. Like, for the longest time, what he admired about my style of music was, if you went back and listened to my old music, I never really cursed.
Yeah.
Like, I never cursed at all. So, like, Rakim was one of my favorite artists as well. So, like, one of the hardest dudes you could ever, that rap, and you couldn't get a curse out of, but it still sounded hard.
Yeah.
So, with Street Politics 3, I was like, you know what? I want to talk in a way that a lot of people that knows me know, like, because for the longest time, even him, like, he'll be like, yo, bro, like, can you just give me that ignorant shit one time? Like, I get it outside of music. all day. Like, you're one of the most ignorant people I know outside of myself. Can I get that in the music one time? And I was like, all right. Like, and when I heard Street Politics 3, like, it just was, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I never clipped an enemy who didn't see it coming. Yeah, he started standing firm, but he ended running. Like, Street Politics was born because we literally, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You can't live about what you didn't speak. You can't speak about what you didn't live. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for us, it's a real thing because we was outside. We was doing all those things. So when you listen to each one, understand that those are like, there's a lot of facts and truth in a lot of those songs. Now it's up for you to go figure out and decipher what's real and what's like not real, but all of it is real. But then there's some parts in there that's just like, okay, like just to kind of throw you off a little bit. But it's up to you to figure out. Now, if you know us, like in our inner circle, you know, like that, those was for y'all because y'all know us. Kind of like for me and him, it's Street Politics. But for me, it's gonna be like By Any Means and Good Day to Die. Like that would be my version of what Street Politics looks like.
And it's funny you mentioned that about like Street Politics because like each beat was basically had the same title. It was called The Tough Ones.
Yep.
Which is a 70s Italian crime movie. And like each one was about you talking about, you know, like
that's
crime. Like,
crazy.
Yeah, so each one of the Street Politics that I produce was Tough Ones Volume 1, Tough
2,
Ones Volume 2,
and 3, and that's the names of the beats, no lie. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
And you kind of just knew, like, okay, yep, that's Street Politics. Okay, we're right here. And it's almost like it got to the point where it just got so easy to do because all we're doing is talking about our lives. And like with the 6-piece would make it so dope. I feel like that's the project that allowed us to branch out and to do what we're doing, like to have an Angels Loyal to Demon, to have a God's Son Devil's Night. Because it's like you're getting the chicken spot, which is our creative geniuses put together in a pot. But then outside of that, you're going to get music from us to see what it looks like if you just get my side of accounts or his side of the accounts. So, and they're literally coming right back to the chicken spot.
No doubt, man. You know, like, and I love the, you know, Acosta, you know, like brings like incredible production on these projects too. And, you know, your and Jonez' style has been described as, you know, boom bap mixed with a, you know, chopped and screwed delivery. And I wanted to know, how do you keep that authentic, gritty New York sound while still trying to stay fresh and innovative at the same time?
Paying attention to the landscape. Paying attention to what's happening. Like I might not necessarily agree. One of my strongest traits is I can listen to a lot of things and critique it from just being a fan. Like I don't care for drill music. I'm not a fan of drill music. But I can listen to it and understand why people like it. Like trap music, I wasn't necessarily a fan. Like I grew up with original trap music. So like if it ain't 3-6, if it ain't UGK, if it ain't Old Gucci, like Zone 6, East Atlanta Santa, like LaFleur, if it ain't Jeezy, like that's trap music. So if it ain't that, Trade of Truth, Trick Daddy, Master P, like that's trap music to me. Rap A Lot Records. So that new, like once you got into the futures and everything and everybody just kind of sounding the same, like I was just like, but I can listen and be like, okay, I can understand how people appreciate. Like same thing with drill. Like for me, I was a little Herb fan. I necessarily didn't care for G Herbo once he changed it. Like once he changed his name, it just, the music wasn't the same. But like, yeah, just our appreciation for music and listening to the land, like just paying attention to the landscape. Like there's certain, there's certain like, and we cut it up. It's like homework for us. We chop up the genres and we'll go and listen and bring it back to the table. Like the one sound we can both agree on that we both are into is the Griselda sound. We can agree there. But we have our favorites that we'll go run to. Like he's going to run to Conway. I'm running to Benny.
No, I'm not.
You're going to run. You're going to
I'm
run
gonna run to
the
myself.
That too. But yeah, like we can... But yeah, we can agree. Like that's how we do it. Just paying attention to the landscape. Like I love Houston music. I lived in Texas for a little bit too. So Chopped and Screw, like DJ.
Shout out to Chop the Father.
Our most recent guest,
Yeah, who we just interviewed.
So,
Yeah.
But yeah, Chopped and Screw was real big for me as a kid too. Like I love that sound.
No
Do you
doubt,
want to repeat
man.
your question, though?
Yeah, well, I got another one. So, like, this next question is actually for Jonez. You know, so you got a track on 6-piece called "Good Day to Die," which I'm just gonna be completely honest, I fucking love this track. I probably drive Jose crazy bumping this track in the whip.
Like that and then Street Sharks and shit. He pulls up at my house. There's a good chance he's listening to that.
That's where little San Diego places coming from.
Yeah.
All those places from San Diego for this fool right here.
I wanted to ask, what was the inspiration behind that track? What was the recording process like, on that joint?
So we was looking like for some. I was in the studio, just kind of by myself. Sometimes I'm by myself for like 12 hours, but that was like kind of the start of the 6-piece. That's what started off the 6-piece. That was kind of like the energy where we started.
It wasn't a good day to die.
No, when we realized like, oh shit, like we're working on the 6-piece.
Oh yeah.
When we realized, we're working on the 6-piece, huh?
Yeah. Like By Any Means came in.
Yeah, because we recorded By Any Means way before that, months before that.
Like I did that shit in one day. Like I wrote the song.
That was at the room in Melrose.
Mm-hmm.
That was at the room. Me, you, and my wife.
The same day.
My wife was engineering for us.
That
was pretty cool. But we recorded that at the room, and then we came back here maybe like a couple months later. So I'm here, he's on his way, and I was just thinking about it, man. And I was watching like some old something, and on the screen, I think it was like an ad or whatever. I saw something, and it was the Ice Cube joint. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh shit, today was a good day.
Yep.
Today was a good day. But niggas be playing with me, bro. You know what I'm saying? And so and I just made that song. Like if anybody, it's not really about like some gangsta activity, crazy stuff. It's really about if anybody, you at work, and you feel like somebody's playing you. You think I won't slide? Mm-mm. And that has any manner of reasons. You know what I'm saying? If you
hold on, he playing with y'all. Y'all want to know how that song came about?
Nah.
It was an answer to By Any Means.
Well, that too.
Literally is what it was. Got robbed. If you listen to By Any Means.
That too. But that was the inspiration behind it. But I had to come up with a retaliation for By Any Means.
Robbed me? Cool. Let me show you how I deal with that.
Yeah. And then I was just but I needed a concept. And it came from, you know what I'm saying?
But it was a dope ass concept. Like it.
And I was just like,
super fucking dope concept.
Because he told the story on By Any Means. Mm-hmm. So if you notice, I'm on the ad-libs of By Any Means.
Mm-hmm. And the hook.
So.
And then it's reversed.
And then you hear him on the ad-libs of Good Day to Die. So like if you think it's a solo track, it's not.
It's really,
it's not.
Those two
hunting season.
Like it's not.
No bullshit. You don't know how many times people be like, what was you thinking about when you were saying hoodie season, dog? I was like, well, if you think about New York in the fall, getting into the winter, that's hoodie season. That's when a lot of the bullshit about to start taking place.
That's always the energy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what time it is. Black Timbs, black hoodie, black baseball gloves. And what's up.
All these black leeches.
So, but that, oh man, I think I had more fun doing the 6-piece. I think the 4-piece was where the hurdle, like once we got over that hurdle, and really just understood. Because you came in and I was like, all right, bro, I'm done. You ready to hear it? He was like, what the fuck? Because I told him I was starting. He was on his way. By the time he got to the studio, I was done with the song. I'm like,
honestly, the song took me maybe 20, 30 minutes. It was really,
and I was already 10 minutes into coming.
I literally was like, niggas try to slide on me like I wouldn't ride.
It's a good day to die.
I was like,
If you was a gangsta ass nigga, put your.
And then I just freestyled the story, right? I think about stuff that I go through, you know what I'm saying? One time I was shopping with wifey at the Grove, you know what I'm saying? We got mad bags, cats looking like, who that? You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
okay.
Like, people want to find out. You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes we do valet, so it's just one of those things where it's just like, and then he's telling the story about how, he crept in the house. So I just, told that story and then take it back to who that is. It's also, talking about who that, my experience that happened on who that when I talk about how I got shot at, stuff like that, channeling that energy. Like, I know that feeling, I know that feeling when you turn the corner and somebody's like, yeah, boy, you get caught slipping. I know how that feels.
See, that's I didn't know you said hoodie season. I thought you said hunting season.
said hoodie
season. There.
But hunting season works too. But yeah, hoodie season. Like that's just like a New York moniker because we all like if you're a real New Yorker, we all love hoodie season. Like you would think it's summer. No, I love the fall.
But that's
Leather
why I like
jackets and
Cali
hoodies.
because I get to wear like you get to wear hoodies and like maybe like a light jacket. I'm not a fan of like big.
I love the snow.
So no Carhartt North Face for you, man.
Not maybe. Just
He's never
because.
given up his Carhartt, dog.
I love Carhartt, yeah, but like
He's never given up.
it's for me, I'm just like, you know what it was? Because I hated my mother used to put me in them damn snorkels. You know the
Same.
You
The
know
big
with
ass,
the
heavy,
fur.
puffy.
I can't move. You know you got your big ass book bag. I'm warm, but I'm like, man, it's mad long, and I'm short. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that short, but I'm short. You know,
That
so.
That
So I
gave me PTSD too.
Yo, I used to be so mad, like, oh, and then it's like, it has to last for 2 years. You know, you hit a growth spurt, like for somebody like me that like hit that late ass growth spurt, and it was crazy. I went from my sophomore year to my junior year. That's when I grew. Like I was like 5'3", 5'4". Like I was shorter than my mother. Come sophomore year, and then like I kid you not, I got some Uchi, and then.
It was
All of a sudden I grew. Bro, I just
out of here.
I started, you know what I'm saying? I started getting with the girls, and next thing you know, I'm like, 5 inches taller.
Like, yeah.
But I had to keep the same jacket that next winter.
Yeah, like he go right into that motherfucker.
Yeah, it was just like, I ain't getting you another one. That's from last year. Like,
Facts. I hate heavy jackets.
you know what? I'm gonna go get some money. I'm gonna get my own jacket.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your upcoming project, or the project you mentioned, I think, in passing, the Nomad, right? What can listeners expect?
Actually, it's
already out, right?
Yeah, Nomad's already out. What's
Yeah.
the latest one?
Oh, God's Son, Devil's Night.
Oh, yeah.
So with this one,
It's a costume.
you're going to, definitely it's Acosta.
Acosta.
It's all Acosta directed. This is it's gonna be like a movie essentially. Because you're gonna get to see both sides of me. You're gonna get to see the kid that that wanted to do right, wanted to be a good kid, like, you know, he had all of the expectations in the world, but then you're gonna get to see like the hoodlum that was born out of survival.
It's in the title, honestly.
God's
it's in
Son,
the title.
Devil's Night. Like, yeah, I was God's child, but you know, somewhere along the way you hit that gray area, and sometimes God can't always see you through situations. Sometimes you need the devil's hand. Like one of my lines is like, God wakes me up, but the devil keeps me out of coffins. And that's a real thing. Like, I try to let Jesus grab the wheel while I'm in the field, but stumbled on the devil's will for a meal.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna always walk with God, but He knows your heart, and all you can really do is just ask for forgiveness. Because I'm never asking for permission to do what I need to do. I'm just gonna ask that you
Especially
forgive
provide
and you
for the
understand.
family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, you're gonna get to see the kid that like smart, well, you know, straight A, probably was a class clown in school, but then you're gonna see like, again, like you're gonna see that gremlin that was made out of like necessity to protect this kid, because life, you know, just kind of like threw him the biggest curveball he wasn't ready for. So this guy had to step in.
Yeah.
And now, as a man, you get to see like how now it's like, okay, so we got to pick one or the other.
Yeah.
But they both can no longer coexist.
Gotcha, man. And when's that project gonna come out, man?
We're shooting for May. I want to say like
Awesome.
mid-May.
Yeah. We
June the
literally
latest.
just finished.
Yeah.
So we just
finished putting.
Y'all gonna hear? I mean, y'all not gonna hear it. But they gonna hear it.
like May, June the latest.
Yeah.
No doubt.
It's fire. It's definitely there.
Yeah, I know that because we're kind of tight, but I want to just, of course, do what I always do, which is get back into the politics a little bit. I can't help myself. But let's talk about, like, obviously we were kind of touching on it a little bit. Discourse all around on a lot of subjects is like real polarized, right? Like, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions.
Yes.
You know, obviously online that comes out a lot more than just like in people's faces and shit. People don't want to do that like in the, you know, directness. But yeah, you know, like, as a person that makes like music, you know, and oftentimes music that's like socially conscious to a, you know, to a degree, right? Like, what are your thoughts about the current state of like what's going on in our society? What role do you think that music and culture workers like yourselves have in that kind of discourse? And do you think like we need more or less kind of civility in these spaces, specifically the hip hop spaces? Do you think people need to be, you know, keeping it pushing with like the realness, or do we need to be like, oh, let all people kind of have their say or whatever?
You need authenticity to take a stand in the front again, because nobody knows who they are anymore. And
that these labels are trying to dictate what we supposed to do. They never lived our lives.
Try to dictate what black speech is.
You know what I'm saying, bro?
But you can't do it. Like, this is how I feel. You can't. What I love about being an artist and what I hate about being an artist is the same thing: freedom of speech. I love it because it gives me a chance and an avenue to express my pain.
We literally talk about that on the value meal.
Yes.
We literally talk about that on the value meal, bro.
And what I hate
you hit it on the nail.
That freedom gives the world the freedom to be whoever they want to be, and that's dangerous because you're doing it from behind the screen. But what are you going to do? Like how we said earlier, what if this whole world was to go to shit, you had to go outside? Guess what? Them people that you was trying to be that person to on that screen, you got to go outside and be him. Can you be, or her? Can you be that person? And in politics, I feel like even like in dealing with activism, first things first, like the number one rule, knowledge of self. You need to know who you are before you start jumping into any of these spaces thinking you want to affect or make change.
Yep.
Stop trying to jump and put your hands in every pot and you don't even know what the recipe is.
Exactly.
Because you're going to mess around and catch food poisoning and you didn't. Know who you are, know what you like, and know what you want to do.
Know what you talking about.
Know what you stand for.
Stop trying to talk about it because it's fad, because it's popping.
Oh, because it's a trending topic.
You got to do your research. You can't just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years back. You need to go to the source, figure out where it came from.
Figure out the root.
You know what I'm saying?
What kind of tree is that?
Same thing with music, man. We was talking about that the other day when that joint came out. The Wild Thoughts joint came out, and somebody was like, "Yo, who the hell is this old man already doing a cover to it?" Oh my God! Talking about Carlos Santana,
right? Yo,
oh my God!
First of all, when I heard that, I hated Wild Thoughts. I'm gonna be straight up because I'm from Harlem. The song is about East Harlem. I'm from Spanish Harlem. I hate this fucking cover. This is probably one of the worst fucking covers that DJ Khaled could think to like come up with. And people's like, what? You tripping Rihanna and Tori? No, go listen to the original. First of all, y'all just took the song, didn't give a fuck about the premise or what it was. It is literally a Bronx tale, but Harlem tale. That's literally all it is. But because y'all just want to take songs and flip and think it's just the same. No, bro. Knowledge of self. Do I want to do this justice? Because all music is just, okay, what is it that I deemed that was great back then that I want to breathe life into? That's literally all music is. Okay, this was dope back then. Let me see if I can put my own spin on it. Prime example. So nice. Matter of fact, Dead Presidents. Whose world? The world is yours. That sample has been flipped so many different times in so many different songs. Like Hove making Dead Presidents was just, yo, I loved, all right, you made it a hot line, made it a hot song. Then you take that and you flip it again. Fab did it. So it's like, no, understand like the history. And people don't even know that I think the original, like where that sample comes from was like a soul song that a white person made. Same thing with Street Dreams. That's a rock song. People don't even know that.
I think you do a segment on the show that does who flipped it better, right?
Yeah.
My favorite thing to see is this fool go and do that history, you know, and like when you're talking about the sense of self, I always respect this fool for doing his research. But yeah,
but you get what I'm saying? The research, bro.
You gotta know the history behind it, you
that
know?
right there,
It's
man.
called paying dues for a reason. It's called respect.
That's what makes people appreciate you
and
more.
it's one of the pillars of hip hop. Literally, the knowledge.
You know, everything comes from something, you know, but if you don't know where it came from, you don't know where you're going.
It's okay to say you don't know, right? Sometimes people like forget, like especially in this era where you have the whole world at your fingertips or whatever. People assume you got to know the answer to everything, or you got to like fake the funk. But it's like really, I think it's okay for me to be like, especially myself, because I don't know shit like about a lot of things. Be like, yo, I don't know, but I'm gonna talk to somebody that does know and show respect to the people that know the actual that put the years
that's
in.
a big thing when it comes to hip hop is people expect you like, well, if you rap, who was the first person to rap? Who really made the first rap beat? And the kids today don't care about that, right? Because you got to think about it. When rap first started, I mean, it's a gift and a curse, you know. Because when I first started rapping, right, I ain't know nothing about no history of hip hop. I just knew about from what I was listening to going up, right? I ain't know nothing about nothing before. You know what I mean? Because that's what was introduced to me. I was a little kid. I'm 5, 6 years old. You know what I'm saying? And my uncle, who's 10 years older than me, this is the music he's playing. So that's the music I know. And then growing up, and I get to make my own decision now, who's my favorite artist. You know what I'm saying? And then it's stuff like that, you know what I mean? Then I came out, you know, like I was old enough to enjoy like that 50 golden era, you know what I'm saying? Where like, you know, you 80 pounds soaking wet, but you got your wife beat on and your do-rag. You know what I'm saying? You know, like, you know, go do a little push-up, go outside like, what's up? You trying to be like 50 out here?
But
you know what I mean?
to bring the politics conversation full circle, one of the things that I hate about the gift and the curse of hip hop, if you look at the biggest hip hop artists of all time, what do they all have in common? None of them. They all dropped out of school.
That's Brody.
Like all of the greatest hip hop artists,
He in the wrong studio.
dropped out of school.
Word, my dumb ass
Nas,
graduated.
Jay, Biggie, Kendrick. No, Kendrick finished. Cole dropped out of college, went back and finished. Like all the great Busta Rhymes dropped out of high school. LL Cool J dropped out of high. Like if you look at the people that we celebrate and we love, Dr. Dre dropped out. 50 Cent never made it past junior high school. Nas the same thing. So it's like, and it sucks because if you really look at how politics conditioned the music industry, you're essentially telling me that my only way to make it is to be a dropout.
Yeah.
To have sustainability and longevity in this business, I gotta be a dropout. I gotta have street knowledge, because essentially that's where hip hop was made from anyway. Street knowledge.
It wasn't made in no boardrooms, and now hip hop is made in these boardrooms. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the political connection comes, because it's, as you said, freedom of speech, and it's free to preach, but they will kill you when you start preaching. You know what I'm saying? And that's that right there is when you have that, when you attain that knowledge of self, and you really start talking that talk. That's when they try to downplay you, right? Then because you remember we were talking about it how last time, this so-called underground hip hop. That's what hip hop was. That was mainstream. All of this party stuff and all that was underground hip hop. And the flip happened when the knowledge of self started happening, right? And people started, you know what? You know, yo, this hip hop joint is selling. You know, we can make our own labels. We could do this. We could do that. And these people who have no idea about the lifestyle of what hip hop encompasses, we can't make no more money off these people that's actually selling these records out here. What we're gonna do? Let's go get some gimmicks. Let's throw some gimmicks and let's mix it up. That's the stuff that's created in the ballrooms. How can we sell music to the youth? What do we want the youth to do, right? Because we got a 10-year plan. Let's take this kid who's making these music, whatever, for whatever reason, dance songs, all this, whatever it is that's selling, right? Let's push that out. Let's get that to the masses. Let's make people think that's what hip hop should sound like. So that way we can control everybody's political position, right? Because you got to think about it. If all we care about is dance music, we don't care about nothing else that's going on in the world. Right. We have no idea what the next president's political views are. You know what I'm saying? Because we're not educated on it. We too busy trying to do these dance moves on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? To understand what's really happening in the world and how they collecting our information, how there's a whole war going on that people forgot about. Everybody was donating to Ukraine, and then all of a sudden, people like, but it's still happening. It's still going on. on. But it's problems here in America. Why are we ignoring that?
Yeah.
Why? You know what I'm saying? Nothing against it, but it's like, yo,
Sending $50 billion to a country that produces advanced weaponry, and we got homeless, and it's crazy, man.
you know what I'm
Walking over
saying?
people right here, right in like fucking a block away.
Yeah.
Like,
What
on
happened?
the streets preventably.
What happened to the homeless that was supposed to happen in LA? They're supposed to build all the homes for the
Imagine.
homeless.
The bread gets spread out, but it doesn't go to.
Oh, everybody got paid because everybody that was part of that got new cars, they got new Teslas. You know what I'm saying? They living in
Down
the hills.
payments on the house.
Right.
But these people still on the street.
No,
Talking about
exactly.
they don't want to occupy it. Yeah, okay.
But that's the thing about
what's
the
up?
politics.
It was a stick up.
Yeah, and that's and that's what I started using that line because whenever I say that it's a stick up, that means I'm about to talk that talk.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of brings us to a good kind of bridge because obviously, I think the politics is all around us, right? Like it affects, like literally, even if we say we don't give a shit about it, it gives a shit about us because it determines like how funded our schools are, whether or not we have decent health care, whether or not we go to war, and like people like in my own family are going to go off and maybe get like killed. Yeah. So yeah,
How policed everyone is.
How police, like literally, whether I can just walk down the street and I don't have to sit on my hands.
You know, they talking about killing TikTok in the United States now.
Yeah, because it's owned by China or whatever.
And what are all these people going to do now? They're not going to have a job.
Yeah.
All these people there's people that like work for these companies in TikTok and they make over $100,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, and then you got people that's going to work in a.
Well, they want to act like it's about that it's about privacy or whatever, but it's like, yo, like if you care so much about privacy, release my DNA that the SDPD took from me illegally, yo.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, too, it's all information that's being. People are finding out the truth via TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just about the dances. It's
You give a damn about my information. Why y'all ain't stop Mark Zuckerberg when he was taking everything over like a monopoly?
Exactly. Well, because he doesn't challenge nothing, but the algorithm for TikTok is letting people see some shit that they shouldn't see. But that's what brings us to, I think, a really good pivot, which is like, hip hop spoke of like a narrative. It's like a history, a people's history, right? Like you talked about like what it was meant to be about, authenticity, realness, like talking about
that. And it's crazy because not to cut you off, but why is KRS-One still valid? He has not lost his touch.
Yeah. 40 years later.
You cannot downplay that man ever.
Knowledge
When it
reigns
comes to
supreme.
hip hop, you cannot. That man, what?
It's in his name.
And we like to say, right, like at least like in our like movement in San Diego, that like hip hop is gonna be like the music of the revolution, right? Because ultimately it's like right like this with like social movements. Like there's a reason when the uprisings were happening, you're hearing hip hop like in the streets, like when these uprisings were
But
happening.
nowadays it's 50-50 because if something happens, Cass is just making a song, trying to act like they care about the movement
Like
that's going on, but they don't care about it.
Right.
Will not be televised.
Yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because hip hop was not televised in the beginning, so stay woke.
Anytime the money gets involved, right? That's when like somebody's trying to make a quick buck. They're like, oh, if these people buy it, like all of us are willing to buy that conscious hip hop, they're gonna be like interested.
That's the same thing when people was showing up to the rallies holding up signs. You know what I'm saying? And then hopping back in their car and speeding off.
Yeah.
It's easy to throw the rock and hide your hand.
Right, no, exactly. It's real easy to just like go take a photo for Instagram and then just like shake the spot. But what do you all think the role of like hip hop as being like a force in these like social movements, as being like a voice for people that to like build unity, to enlighten the masses? Like, what do you think that's like a job of hip hop or like a role that it can play, or do you think it should be separate?
I feel like it's not. I feel like the politicians found a good way to scapegoat a lot of their mistakes and distractions through music. Like, they're out here making decisions, but we got to deal with the responsibilities.
Absolutely.
So, an example would be, okay, let's take New York, for example, when they was rebuilding the towers. Like, when 9/11 first happened, they don't talk about how hip-hop artists not only dropped that day, but all of the proceeds to their albums went to funding 9/11, whether it be Fab, Hove, those two dropped that day. I forgot who else dropped that day or that week. But mind you, those album sales is what funding the Freedom Tower that you see like 10, 15 years later, but they won't tell you about that.
Nah, of course not.
But they'll be quick to
not.
tell you about how Hov stabbed somebody in the club, almost lost his life, or how Fab almost got jammed up, like in a conspiracy case. Like, they'll tell you all of the nasty narratives, but then won't tell you what it is that's actually being done. Because that's not what it doesn't fit their agenda, which is why if you've ever seen New Jack City, Like, what is the opening monologue? You're about to witness the birth of what? Street knowledge. Mm-hmm. So this is what hip hop, you witnessed the birth of street knowledge. Okay, look, you never gave me a voice in the beginning anyway. This is ours. You can't take something that I created. Now, you can go and minuscule the narrative or play with it, doctor it up, but guess what? There's two different hip hops. You got mainstream hip hop and you got underground, and underground don't fuck with mainstream. Because trust me, there's a big difference if you go to a strange music or an organized sound show opposed to going to like an Arista or Universal mainstream show. I've been to both. I'd much rather go to an underground because it's authenticity. They don't want to hear that bubblegum bullshit. Like, prime example, people love Nas because he's literally the bridge. Like, the streets love him and people in the boardrooms love him, but he's true to himself. That's why he's never going to go out of style. Like how you say KRS-One, he's never going to go out of style. Like, at this age, he's still traveling the world.
No matter what style of music you do, you know about those two.
Always. Nas and KRS-One.
You could be the biggest, not like you, whatever. You could be the biggest who's somebody that's totally left field from KRS-One. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. You know what I mean? And
but you know what Criminal Minded is. You know who Boogie Down Production is. You know who Scott LaRock is.
I discovered KRS-One through a punk band. You know, so it's just like they literally wrote.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yo, KRS-One, if you seen this, man, holla.
Right, like for like
my philosophy.
Flowers, bro. Just letting you know, man.
Like knowledge reigns supreme. It's in his name. Like I remember, like being a kid and I got into 5% of like knowledge, wisdom, like the 10 pillars. Like that's what I'm saying. Knowledge itself, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely, man. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate your take. And, like the disconnect sometimes that, is between like the mainstream and the underground side of everything in hip hop, especially today, where it seems like that disconnect is wider than it's ever been. I wanted to ask you, man, what's the biggest obstacle that you've had to face as a musician? And conversely, what advice would you give to young artists that want to be making music, especially music that is, more outside of what people could see as conventional mainstream hip hop?
The biggest hurdle is dumbing down. People telling me to dumb down. Like, because I might be too lyrical or too much to digest. Well, look, people might not like fruits and vegetables, but guess what? It'll keep you around longer, and it's gonna outlast junk food. So at the end of the day, I think I'll stick around. I think I'll stick around for the fruits and vegetables. KRS-One been here since the 80s.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, last time I checked, fruits and vegetables work well for him. Nas too. So it's like whatever you put in your body, and the same thing like with food, words, the same exact thing. Whatever it is that your inner dialogue is, that's going to be your soundtrack. So as an artist, your job is to paint a picture of the times. It got to transcend. Your words got to be able to transcend you when you leave here. I.e. Big, Pac, Big L. Like those guys. Big Pun. You feel Pimp C. Because I don't feel he gets enough love either. Like, regardless if you like the music or not, you got to respect it. I'm sorry. Pimp C is just, he's one of them. So just being true to myself and not allowing people to dictate what my music is supposed to sound like to fit a narrative to get in.
Most definitely, man. Thank you so much. Well, that's it, man. Can you tell us about any upcoming projects and where people can follow you and hear your music at?
Next project, Godson Devil's Night, late spring, early summer. You can follow me on Instagram, D_Rel88. That's D_RELL88. Music is everywhere on all DSPs. D-Rel, D-RELL, or if you want, it's easier, you just type in Chicken Spot Series, it'll pop up.
No doubt. Yo, with that said, D-Rel, you got any closing comments or anything else you want to let the listeners know?
Be true to who you are. It's okay to be authentic. Remember, our moms we used to get our parents to spend those $200 to $300 on authentic throwback jerseys, and when we was kids. Yo, be as authentic as the hardwood classic that you wanted. You feel me? Like those Mitchell and Ness ain't go out of style. They still here.
Some of these cats never had them. That's why they don't understand.
Don't rock with that authenticity, like you said.
Yeah, like
Y'all,
people
y'all,
will
y'all
love you.
see it, y'all hear it in the music, man. You know his demeanor, man. You know what
Exactly, man.
it is. Real recognize real.
Well, thank you.
D-Rel, thank you again for coming through and taking the time.
Appreciate
to speak
y'all,
with us.
fellas.
You know, D-Rel, Navy Jones Locker, Acosta the Man. Thank you again, brothers, for coming through.
Yeah,
We
man.
appreciate you guys. We hope to have you guys on
Appreciate
the
y'all,
show
man.
real soon.
We was here working, so we
Yeah, you know.
guys will come check us out.
And
Let's go
then-
listen to the EP.
Check out the I said we out.
Yeah, we out.
Peace.